Hello, everyone. Welcome to Durrett's Take. I'm coming out with a special podcast because I wanted to go over the college football playoff committee's top 25 reveal. Um, here's the thing. I know that it's week to week. I know, oh, this team will play that team and things can change and all that. And I get all that, but I still want to go over my thoughts. So let's get started. So let's start off with like five apiece. So you got 25 Air Force, 24 Tulane, 23 Kansas State, 22 Oklahoma State, and 21 Kansas. Now, for me, two things. One, I would put Air Force above Tulane because Tulane has a loss and Air Force doesn't. But also, it's like, Tulane's best win was a road win against Memphis. Air Force best was a home win against Wyoming. I feel like Wyoming and Memphis are basically on the same level. Like no one really has that standout win to say, oh, I'm automatically the best G5 team. But to me, it's just like I would go with Air Force. Tulane is, in my opinion, um, played a lot hasn't looked as sharp as Air Force has, in my opinion. Um, and then I'm and then also Kansas and Oklahoma State is interesting because again head to head, Oklahoma State should be above Kansas, but Kansas obviously has the better win against Oklahoma versus Oklahoma State, where their best win is against Kansas. So I can understand why the committee put Kansas above Oklahoma State. Although again, for me, head to head matters more in general, but that's just me. Um, okay, so now for 20 to 15, you got 20 USC, 19 UCLA, 18 Utah, 17 Tennessee, and 16 Oregon State. Um, to me, I would definitely not have USC this high. I would have put USC behind the three Big 12 schools I just mentioned earlier. Just their defense is that bad. Um, And then obviously Utah should be above UCLA because they won head to head. Oregon State should be above UCLA because they won head to head. Tennessee being a 17 is fine. So besides the USC one, I'm fine with the other orders there. Okay, now from 15 11. So 15 Notre Dame, 14 LSU, 13 Louisville, 12 Missouri, 11 Penn State. I'm fine with LSU being the best two-loss team on here because they do have a solid win against Missouri, who's in the top 15, and Notre Dame. They don't have a win against someone in the top 15, nor do the other two-loss teams do. So I'm fine with that in that regard. I'm fine with Louisville being the worst one-loss team because out of all the one-loss teams, they have the worst loss in losing at Pittsburgh, who's a below 500 team. Like, it is what it is. Missouri, I'm fine with being the second lowest because they just did not look good starting off the season. Um, but again, if you're Missouri, you get to play Georgia this week, and if you do well, then you get to show the community, oh yeah, we are for real. And then Penn State, I'm fine with them at 11, and then at number 10 they have Ole Miss, which I'm fine with. Um, at 9 they have Oklahoma, 8 Alabama, 7 Texas, and 6 Oregon. Now this is very interesting because they have Alabama, they have Texas above Alabama, which I'm fine with because Texas won head to head. But Oklahoma and Texas, Oklahoma's in that regard, Oklahoma should be ahead of Texas since they won head to head, but they're not. But to me, it comes down to I understand they went head to head, but for this one, even though I'm a big head to head person, I'm actually fine with Texas being above Oklahoma there because Texas, doesn't have their loss was against the number 9 team in the country versus Oklahoma. Well, their loss is against the number 21 team in the country. So by that metric, you think, okay, there's a difference there. But then, not only that, but um, Oklahoma just has not looked, that good as of late after being Texas for some reason. Not sure why, but they just haven't. So again, I'm fine with it. This will all play itself out, but I'm fine with Texas being above Oklahoma. Um, and then, so I agree with Oregon as the best one-loss team right now because they, played a game against Washington where they should have won, or I guess should have, but could have easily won, and then they dominated Utah at Utah. So I'm fine with that. Number 5, Washington. I'm fine with that because out of the other undefeateds, while they have a good win against Oregon, they have not looked good the past 2 weeks at all. So they deserve to be penalized for that. 4, you got Florida State. 3, Michigan. 2, Georgia, and 1, Ohio State. So basically, and based off the committee chairman's comments, he basically said, "Yeah, Ohio State has the best wins," and I agree. Because if this was going to be based off eye test, then Ohio State would not be number 1. But since resume is a big factor, I can understand why they put Ohio State number 1. What's interesting is that Florida State actually has a better win than Georgia or Michigan. But they and the committee kind of mentioned it's like, well, Florida State had a couple close calls versus Michigan, Georgia, were there, established more of their dominance, and that's why they were above Florida State, which I get. And if you're Florida State, it's like, yeah, it stings to be behind them, but it's like, Ohio State and Michigan will play each other, so you'll jump at least one of them, and then as long as you win out, you'll be in the playoffs. You're ahead of Washington or Oregon or a Texas and Oklahoma, so you're ahead above those conferences. So if you're Florida State, it's like, yeah, you could have been a little bit higher, but it's fine. So basically, those are my thoughts on the rankings. Now, I'm not going to do this every single week, but since it was the first weekend of the College Football Playoff Committee's polls coming out, that's why I wanted to go over it. And we'll see how the committee does going forward. Thank you very much for listening to my podcast today. Please subscribe to my channel and about me. Thank you very much. You have a wonderful day.